Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Marques is finally exposing Carlos King for firing him from Love and Marriage Huntsville because he spoke to Queen Shiba. Now, if you guys remember, there was an interview with Queen Shiba. It seems that Carlos King and Own were not happy with him doing the interview with Queen Shiba, and also the text messages that happened between him and Trisha. Now, we are going to talk about it, but if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I do commentary on reality TV shows and celebrity news. Also, please, everyone, please like, share, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Now, let's get into it. I think the saddest part of the whole thing is that Marques went on Queen Shiba's interview and was talking about don't crash out. And he was really focusing on like the mental health of men and all of that. But then when we see the messages that he had with Trish, it was obvious that he crashed out. But now it feels like Marques is giving us some context as to why the crash out happened. He also outed Carlos King on Instagram as well. So we're going to talk about all of these things. The first thing I do want to talk about is his latest conversation with Queen Shiba. Now, first of all, shout out to Queen Shiba because she didn't just have a conversation with Marques. When she realized that things were getting too far and it was very heavily mental health focused, she made sure that she had a professional present to facilitate the conversation. It's ironic that Queen Shiba is doing the work that Carlos King on TV should be doing in relation to these sorts of situations. So from Marques's perspective, Trish and Ken and himself were all on the same page. They were moving forward. But what it seems like is that he was set up for a physical altercation. So apparently he showed up to Trish's house. Things popped up. There was a physical fight and it all went to S. Now, here's the thing. I know some people are thinking, well, he deserves to get fired. The text messages were vile. Now, you guys know how I feel about those text messages. Those text messages were vile. I really mean that, and I stand by that. But at the same time, we've also seen somebody like Martell get away with all sorts of atrocities without being held accountable. So I do not believe that OWN TV have suddenly grown concerned about the welfare of their cast members. I think that it has just, because let's be clear, do you guys remember there was an interview that Marques was talking about Ken allegedly brought out a pow, right? If they already knew that, if they were really trying to protect the cast members, they wouldn't have somebody like that on the show. They would have decided, okay, this is too much for the show. Let's not have this. If anyone is threatening to bring out a pow or brought out a pow, whatever the case might have been, they would be trying to protect the so-called cast member and be thinking, okay, we don't want to get sued. Also, we want to make sure nothing pops off. So if that wasn't serious enough to warrant the person being forced to leave the show, then these text messages, as vile as they are, do you think that that is the reason that OWN TV would be like, okay, leave? I don't think that's it. So Marques basically said OWN ended his contract and that he needs to take a year off to get counseling. But then they specifically also mentioned the interview that he had with Queen Shiba and that he was telling his story before they were able to film it, which meant there was nothing for him to film. Now, here's the thing. I did not feel like the interview with Queen Shiba was an expose in any way. I don't think Marques said anything on that show that we didn't already know beforehand. I feel like even in the interview, he kept trying to be very careful about what he said. But I feel like he's just been made an example of. I do think maybe for whatever reason, they didn't want him recording or doing an interview with Queen Shiba because I feel like that wasn't his first interview. He had done an interview with Millie Chud, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that wasn't his first interview. So why is it that this one is the one that they have a problem with? And I don't believe he said anything that wasn't already out in the public before anyway. So it was already, as far as I remember, everything was already in the public sphere before. I don't think there was any breaking news as such. If anything, I think it was more talking about his mental health a little bit. Also, I think the interview really humanized him, because I remember watching the interview and I thought, okay, there's more layers to Marques that we haven't seen on the show. It almost feels like, because the show is not portraying him in a good way, and then after the interview with Queen Shiba, everyone is now seeing him in a great light. That all had to be ended, because that does not work for the brand and what they were trying to push out. In my opinion, this is just me outside looking in and just thinking about all of the players involved. Now, I really like that Queen Shiba had a specialist there present, because I feel like Marques, you guys know I've already said this about Marques and Trisha and all of them, to be honest. They all need actual help. They actually all need a professional. And I'm glad that at least Queen Shiba already started the conversation. So, of course, if possible, Marques can, facilitate having those conversations, because I think he definitely acts like someone that does not have a handle on his emotions. Because even I'm thinking, why go on social media to say what he said? And I will read that to you guys in a second. But why go on social media to even say that? You've already had the interview with Queen Shiba. Was there any reason for that post on social media? And this is the thing, when you don't have a handle on your emotions, you are controlled by everything else. Everyone owns you. Everyone outside owns you, because they can make you react however they want you to react. And that is exactly what Marques is doing. I think Marques needs to learn to control his emotions. He's too emotional. Yes, there is a place for crying. Nothing is wrong with him crying. But the problem is, lack of control over your emotions is not good for anybody. And he needs to really check that at the door, because it is ruining a lot of opportunities. Yes, it was a physical altercation. It shouldn't have happened. Yes, allegedly he was set up. All that stuff. I get it, and I understand how frustrating it can be. But how can you let your emotions get the best of you, that you play into people's hands like that by sending that sort of vile messages? It's like you literally did the same thing you said not to do. Now, do I believe that he can still turn it around? Absolutely. Anybody can. And I think the first step is the apology that he has given. And I think beyond the apology, he needs to actively work on himself to figure out, why am I this emotional? What can I do to manage my emotions? How can I pause, in the words of Queen Shiba, instead of crashing out? But I think if he does that, hopefully things should be in a better position. Now, I do want to read what he posted. And he posted it on his story and said, at Carlos King, thank you for never checking on me, calling to hear my side of the story, or even doing your research on who you casted. The lies, the disrespect and disregard for me, my children, family, and friends, my legacy is nasty work. You know what's interesting? When I first saw the interview with Queen Shiba, I kept thinking, this man keeps talking about coming on the show and what that will do and all of that. And I just kept thinking, he is not managing his expectations very well. This was just a personal thought that I had. I was like, this is not, reality TV is not really the place, especially with Carlos King. Is not the place for you to be like, oh, I want to rewrite the wrongs that were told about me. You're better off just having interviews outside of what has been shown on the show, right? And you should have just left after that. But instead, you wanted to come back to the same platform that did not do you right the first time, hoping they would do you better the next time. It's like, how many times does someone have to do something to you for you to realize that this is who they are? And that is something that I thought about when I was watching the interviews, because he kept talking about coming back in the season and all of that. And I was just thinking, dude, I don't think you understand the sort of players, key players that are involved. I don't think he gets it, but I'm sure he does now. So let me just quickly finish reading what he said. He said, if you really care about unifying Black families and showcasing Black excellence, maybe you should reconsider before how you operate before it becomes your downfall. Now, that is 100% correct, but I don't think he cares about unifying Black families. I think that this is just a narrative that was created to humanize him, but I don't think he cares about unifying any Black families. He's there to catch the action and make things salacious, in my opinion. I don't think that's it. And then he says, P.S. Call me if you truly care about my mental health. Absolutely not. And this is the thing. This is what I say about him being overly emotional. How would you say to somebody who did not care that you got hit, allegedly, okay, did not care about your well-being at the time? What makes you think he's going to care now? The only reason he will probably call you is just to, at this point, protect himself and be like, at least he checked in, because you've publicly called it out. But why would you want a call from him? That's what baffles me. And this is why I say he's very emotional. Think about it. Someone did you dirty, according to you, and then you got fired, or let's say you were put on a break or sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. Yet you're practically telling this person to call you for what? What is the reason? It's a little too late. And this is why I feel like Marques needs better people around him, or he needs to just listen more and pause. I feel like if he feels like he wants to do something in particular, he needs to do the opposite, because whatever it is, that emotions control him. He doesn't use logic. Because I'm not being funny. Why would you post that when you could have just let that conversation you had with Queen Shiba be the conversation and have left it there? Instead, you posted this, and then it looks like you're practically begging for Carlos's approval and validation by asking him to call you. So that is just very weird to me. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the chat. Thank you. Bye.